Now that you have a backup file and the kickstart.php extractor file in the new location, you're ready to create a database for your new site. Although the .jpa backup file Akiba created for you contains everything needed to install Joomla and restore your site, it doesn't actually contain a database, so you'll need to create one first. And we're going to do this next. I'll demonstrate how to create a database both on a local Bitnami server and a remote host. Create a database on your local Bitnami server using the Php Myadmin tool that Bitnami installed for you. Access this via the Bitnami Stack Manager. Here in the Stack Manager, click on Open Php Myadmin. That'll open up this Php Myadmin application in your default browser. Php Myadmin is a free, open source tool to handle the administration of MySQL from your web browser. It performs various tasks such as creating, modifying, or deleting databases, database tables, fields, or rows, and executing SQL statements or managing users and permissions. To access the administrator, you'll need to enter in a username and a password here. Unfortunately, when you installed your Bitnami Joomla server stack, it wasn't very clear what these passwords were. But I'll tell you that the username is going to be root. R-O-O-T, all lowercase. Now the password will be the password that you established when you installed your Joomla server stack. So hopefully you wrote that information down. So go ahead and enter in your credentials and click on the Go button. This will log you into the Php Myadmin Administrator area. Now, depending on the version installed by your Bitnami Joomla server stack, your software may look slightly different than mine shown here. However, the basic functions will be the same even if the appearance is a little bit different. First thing you want to do is click on the Users tab. That'll load the very important Users Overview page. Down at the bottom of the page, click on Add User. Here in the Add User field, you'll want to very carefully enter in the information. Add a username. Now, I like to use the same username as the website that I'm restoring. So the name of my backup here is backup1. So I'm going to use the same username here. This just makes it easier to remember everything. The host is going to be local. Enter in a password. Retype the password. And then down here in the database for user section, make sure you check Create Database with the same name and grant all privileges. That's why I like to use the same name here. This way the database name, username, and backup name are all the same. I'm going to go ahead and check this Check All for global privileges, although this other setting should grant all privileges as well. Make sure that everything is okay. Again, write down the username, the host, and your passwords. And then when everything is okay, click on the Go button at the bottom. You should get a message that you've added a new user. You should see a new database over here on the left. Congratulations! You've just created a new database for your local Bitnami server, a user for that database, and then a password so that the user, which by the way will be Joomla, can access that new database. You're now ready to restore your site to another location on your local server. Now, if you're restoring to a remote server, you'll need to use the Php Myadmin program that came with your host. However, many hosts provide a database wizard, which streamlines this process and is the method that I'm going to demonstrate next. So log into your cPanel for your host, find the Databases section, and look for the MySQL Database Wizard and click on that icon. In step 1 of the wizard, you'll create a database name. Again, I like to use the same name as my backup, so this is going to be backup1. However, note that some hosts will put a prefix in front of your backup name. So you want to write this entire name down. In my case, it's jimg2029_backup1. Write that name down and then click on the Next Step button. Create a username for your database. Again, mine's going to be backup1. Write that name down, including the prefix that's added by your host. Enter a password, re-enter the password, and then click on the Create User button. In the Step 3 screen, make sure that all privileges is checked. Again, you want to make sure that Joomla, which will be the user for this database, has all privileges to do what it needs to do to reinstall itself. Click on the Next Step, and that's it. You're done. Double check that you have your username written down, the database name written down, and your password. Click on the Return Home link. You now have a new database and a new user for the database. You're now ready for step 4 of the restore process, running the kickstart.php file to begin the restore process. And I'll cover this step in the next video.